affect me, myself, and I. An escalation has happened in the Israeli Gaza conflict. And this isn't the Israeli-Gaza conflict. It really isn't an escalation. It's just an escalation in Israel because Israel had an airstrike on Damascus. They have neither confirmed nor denied that the airstrike was theirs, but the Pentagon has gone on and said, yeah, no, it came from Israel, which I will say is already pretty staunchly opposed to what U.S. policy has been so far. But when Iran criticized America, we apparently directly communicated with them that they had no idea because when Israel airstruck Damascus, they hit a consulate in Damascus from Iran and killed like generals, like very high-ranking Iranian military officials, which is about as big of a no-no in diplomatic relations as you can possibly imagine. Striking a consulate and killing high-ranking generals, like it is about as much of a no-no as you can possibly make. Because remember, under international law, that's sovereign territory. Like that is Iranian land. That is legally speaking the same thing as launching an airstrike on Iran. Now, actually speaking, is it? No, because Iran isn't going to do anything because they don't want America to come into a regional conflict. And if they did something, America might. But what a lot of people are speculating is that Israel did this on purpose in order to bring the U.S. into a regional conflict with Iran, because they're watching the U.S. separate from them, and this would be a last, kind of like when you decide to have an open relationship to save the relationship, but of course it isn't going to work. It's like, let's do this thing that is absolutely horrible to make us more committed to each other, or when people have kids to save the marriage.
God, I hate that. I hate when that happens.
That might have been the more appropriate one there, but I mean, I think that that's clearly what happened here. But when you guys are reading about what happened with the consulate in Iran, what were your thoughts? I'll throw to you first, TJ.
So yeah, when I saw this, my immediate thought was, remember when Trump did this? Remember when Trump did this exact same thing in like January of 2020? I still remember because I was still in the Army back then. And for those of you who don't remember, Donald Trump sent a drone strike to kill a Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, while he was like at an Iraqi airport. And he went to the Iraqi airport to meet with Iraqi officials to discuss plans on how to fight ISIS. Like I mean, it's like it wasn't even shit. And so just did a drone strike and killed him. And that was a pretty nervous week, because I was like, this could start a major war right here. Like it's amazing that it didn't, honestly, that the Iranians just kind of like, they launched a couple of missiles into like some warehouses we had as retaliation, but, to save face, but, they didn't raise a big stink about it. And it's so weird that I guess the Israelis saw this and they said, well, look, apparently in the United States, they've decided if you're president of the United States, you have complete reign to kill anyone on planet Earth anytime you want and suffer no repercussions for it. I mean, not only do we do it with people that we've designated as terrorists, or even like our own citizens. Like, what was that guy's name? There was that guy's name. He defected from the United. Say what?
That Obama killed?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but Richard something. He was an American citizen, and he defected, and he went to the Middle East, and we drone struck the guy, and no problem. You can just execute an American citizen for no problem.
I'm not God. Abdulrahman Anwar al-Awlaki. Anwar al-Awlaki is the name that I remember.
That's not the guy I was thinking of. But I didn't know al-Awlaki was American citizen. I didn't know that. Damn. But maybe it's more than I thought. But John, like what you said, like this is about as bad as it could possibly get. And it's something, by the way, we would never stand for. First, we would never ever in a billion years accept this premise that, you know, the United States and Israel does, that, hey, this is a bad guy in a country that is not ours, and we're just going to go send a machine to kill him. Like, I imagine if there was, you know, I don't know, a serial killer or a Klansman or whatever in hiding out in Arizona, and, you know, Mexico just sent a drone into Arizona, and we would be losing our shit, and rightfully so. Like, that's not cool, but we do it all the time. Like, it's a bit of a banality. And then you can raise it even higher. Like, it wasn't, you might be able to make some sort of argument that, well, you know, this guy is bad news, like he's an international terrorist, but this was like an actual government official. This would be like, you know, Pakistan sending a missile into Mike Pompeo's house and blowing it to pieces. You know, like that's essentially what's going on here. And, you know, there's like, yeah, that's just this old hat. It's what we do. And it is. You're right. It is a way for the Israelis to try to goad us into fighting Iran, and which. Very cute, guys. Like, we've been wanting to fight Iran for a long, long time. Like, trust me, this has been on. If we thought we could win, we would have already done it. And like attacking Iran has been on the list since the war on terror started. The only reason it hasn't happened is because it's a war we could not win. Like, Iran is not Iraq. It is a lot. It's like 3 times bigger. It's like, imagine like if you're going to war with California and it had the terrain of Afghanistan. Like, it's the worst of both worlds, and it's a fight we can't win. So we just label them as the world's biggest sponsor of terrorism, and we talk about all the human rights violations. And yes, there are legion of human rights violations in Iran, but we don't give a fuck about that because we are best buddies with the Saudis, who are they're just as totalitarian and theocratic as the Iranians are, but you know, they sell us oil, and so we like them. They're okay, and the Israelis too. We're buddies with them. Like, talk about human rights violations, so we don't really give a shit about that. But it is funny that they're trying to say that's not going to work because we would have done it if we thought. Well, what do you think, Gigi?
I definitely think you guys are both correct. I think that he's sort of poking a bear, so to speak, in order to try and start something there. I do, you know, with the long history with Iran and Israel and their conflict that, you know, has been going on since about 1979 or so. Like, I think that it is a way to maybe try and get the United States to be in conflict. I know that Iran views, you know, the US and Israel as sort of like basically Satan, you know, like there's a mentality there of like, there's already a lot of like pent up rage and conflict there. So I do think that, I don't know, I think that they are trying to start something, and yeah, I don't think it's great.
It is interesting because when we talk about Israel and their actions, it's like, it's really hard to throw stones in our glass house.
Yeah.
And like, obviously we like throw these stones because we're like, fuck the US for everything they've done. But like, as like your average common American, it's really hard to acknowledge wrongdoing by Israel without acknowledging your own complicity. And like, what Israel did here is right. Again, what you like, we did it to Iran. And then Israel just was like, well, if they can do it, we can do it, because all of the same reasons that allowed them to do it are going to allow us to do it. And they did it. And Iran, if I'm Iran, I feel like you have to respect. And again, I'm not even like I'm the most pacifist dove person in the world, but like now it's a pattern. like you got to wave a big stick around at some point, or it could just keep happening. And like, I don't really know what you do if you're Iran. Like, you're just in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it's weird too, because it sounds like we're doing like Iranian apologia, like we're big fans of Iran.
I'm not a big fan. I don't even know Iranian politics. I'm just like, if I'm suddenly if I'm in Model UN and they throw me in charge of Iran, what do I do in this situation? I'm like, I don't know. It's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Lose in every facet, and there's no good answers.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to like show up and like the Iranian people ain't no bitch, coming up there and just trying to say that we're taking this shit over. You can't just keep bombing us and for no reason. And the situation between because like once again, this is like I don't blame people for this because we're not taught this or whatever. But John's heard the speech before, so I apologize. I'm about to give it again about U.S. Iranian relations because we are fed this diet that we are the good guys and Iran are the bad guys, and it's they call us the great Satan because they're evil. They wake up every morning and they think about ways to be evil, and they hate us for no reason. And that's not surprisingly, that's not what happened. And
valid reasons.
There's valid. And so the story that John I've said many times goes back to. Everyone acts like the tensions between the United States and the Iranians happened in 1979. That's when that started. It started way before that. It started in 1953. Back in 1950, Iran elected as their president or prime minister. I can't remember what the title was. It was a guy named Mohammad Mossadegh. And at the time, the Iranians were essentially like a province. Like they belonged to Great Britain. And the Brits were extracting the oil from Iran and through British Petroleum and just, taking the profits for themselves. And so when the Iranians elected Mossadegh had the crazy idea that, hey, how about instead of giving all this money to this tiny island 10,000 miles away, the money from the oil industry should go to the Iranian people, and we could nationalize it and build our nation up. And the Brits didn't like that. They didn't think that was very cash money of them. And so, but this was 1953, and it was shortly after World War II, for those of you who aren't history buffs. And Britain wasn't in a position to use a lot of force. They were, still cleaning up the rubble off their streets and everything and paying off debts. So they went running to Uncle Sam and they told Eisenhower that, hey, you guys need to help us out here. The Iranians aren't playing ball because we want to steal all of their resources and all their money. And by the way, the guy they elected, he said he wanted to nationalize the oil industry. That sounds a hell of a lot like communism to me. And so they're like, oh my God, we can't let this happen. And so we sent in, people to help overthrow Mossadegh, which is exactly what happened. And they installed the Shah of Iran, who was in power from basically a puppet dictator, for Western powers. And so he was in power for the next, 25 years or so. And the Iranian people revolted. You had the revolution of 1979. And that's when Americans started paying attention because they had the hostages and everything. But, the fact that we got Ayatollah Khomeini and the, Islamic rule of the government is a direct result of the fact that we were meddling with the Iranians in the first place. And yeah, so yeah, sure. It's not a defense of the government of Iran, but we always seem to just easily dismiss our role in all this. And also, sorry for going on this, but whenever we had the nuclear deal that Obama did back in, 2014 or whatever, in which he said that, okay, so we are going to make a deal with the Iranians. We don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. So we're going to have this deal where we have inspectors come and check your stuff out, make sure everything's clear. And Trump and the Republicans got mad because Obama gave them, hundreds of millions of dollars, which is not what happened, because back in 1979, we froze hundreds of millions of dollars of Iranian assets. And because until you guys play ball, you don't get the money back. Well, they played ball in 2014. We just gave them their money back, but Republicans acted like we were just handing out taxpayer dollars to these folks. And then Trump comes in office and overturns it. So now you're not going to have any deal with the Iranians. Why would they make another one with you when they know you just overthrow it in the first place? So yeah, it's shitty, and you keep bombing the folks like that. Like there's no good result that's going to come from all this. It's just like what John said. There's only so much this you can put up with.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what happens with that, really.
Nothing will happen of significance. I'm fairly confident in saying that. Like, there's legitimate reason for concern, but again, Iran's between Iraq. The path of least resistance is the one where they don't fight back. Because, like, yeah, you can just keep taking pot shots for forever, but you poke the bear. We won't win the war, but it's gonna hurt. We're bad at winning wars of aggression, but we're quite good at making them hurt for you. All right, guys, and that is the wrap of our show. Thank you so much. If you happen to be watching that episode where I said that KC was our favorite viewer, well, you know how you can become our favorite viewer by liking, subscribing, commenting, just like she did. And make sure to join us live at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And if you want to find our very special guest today, I will let Gigi tell you where. Gigi, it's Gigi. People, my grandmother's name is Gigi. It's been I've been trying to not do it this whole time, but you know what, Gigi, take it away.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be, called by your grandma. That's fine. So yes, Gigi. You can find me on all platforms. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, I don't know, but on Instagram I am Gigi Slaps, all one word. Snapchat too, actually. I'm actually on Snapchat a lot, so same one, Gigi Slaps. I've been doing Snapchat a little bit more because I like the one-on-one kind of like say hello to people, do snap streaks and that kind of thing. So that's my way to stay connected lately, so you can find me on those.
Thanks a lot, Gigi. We appreciate you coming on the show. Been a fantastic guest. For the rare listener that's older than me, you can find her on Facebook. Be sure to look her up. She'll be happy to friend you. But we enjoy you guys. Thanks for watching the show. We'll catch you next time.